Kirkland police operator referred me to your number.
Yes.
Said you had some sort of they had some sort of a bulletin. And my little girls were out. I'm an I flew Navy torpedo bomber, and I'm sure my vision is not that bad. But have you had any calls about these things that are circling over the Kirkland Lake Washington area?
Yes, we're flooded with calls.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm not the only one that's kooky then.
No.
Yeah, well, we saw a bunch of them. They were, as they say, studying stars, and we were up in the north end of Lake Washington. And to the south and east of us, these, it must have been a half a dozen sort of red objects, which seem to be mingling into the air traffic that normally comes across. You can spot the military and the commercial.
Yes.
And these things are sort of flying together in a sort of a semicircular, sort of counterclockwise area. Have you had other reports on this tonight?
Yes, there are reports coming from all over northeast Seattle, and then towards the north of Lake Washington also.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I was seeing because they didn't behave, and then there were some sort of bluish-white objects that seemed to be going up and down like a helicopter might.
Uh-huh.
But even with binoculars, you know, you can't really determine what's going on. But these red objects were going around in a, they say counterclockwise. I should have said clockwise. No. Yeah, clockwise. From the north end of the lake, south, and then around back behind some trees that I couldn't see, and then they seemed to disappear and then reappear.
I see.
And the bluish-white objects were going up and down, and the girls thought they were stars falling or something.
Uh-huh.
But they weren't, because a shooting star doesn't come down and go back up normally.
Right. Never.
so I didn't know. And I don't make rank calls. I say I'm an ex-naval veteran, and never saying quite like it. I didn't know if there was some going. I'd say 8:15 to 8:30.
Okay.
Someplace in there.
Now, the red ones, did you ever get count on those?
I got a count of about, well, as I say, I had to look through trees, and there was at least 4 to 6. I could always see 4,
Uh-huh.
but when they got behind the trees, I'd sort of lose count. Whether there was a couple others or not, I don't know. But they were just, they weren't flashing or doing a darn thing, but they just showed a red signal, and they seemed to be in sort of a loose formation, like, maybe 3 leaders and one on the tail or something, and they were sparsed apart. Oh gosh, I can't tell what the distance was, but if it were a naval formation of planes coming in to land on a carrier, I'd judge them to be about 100 yards apart. But I don't know how far I was looking out.
Right. Were they in any fixed formation?
3 seemed to be, with 1 low, and then when they'd emerged from the other side, as I say, I'd lose them in the trees.
Right.
But there were at least 4, and maybe more. I don't know.
Okay.
But then over to the south and west of us, almost due south, actually, a little bit to the west. There were a couple of funny things going on up and down, and there seemed to be quite a bit of both commercial, private, and military aircraft in the area at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And I was sort of losing track of what was going on where, but I couldn't figure out what these. You can track a commercial plane by its signal, and a private and a military. But So I don't know. I was just wondering if well, I wasn't having hallucinations because my 10 and 6-year-old daughters saw, and my wife all saw the same thing.
Did you have any estimate on the size of those red lights?
No, just
Okay.
lights.
Just
lights.
plain red lights, okay.
Yeah. No, if even with binoculars, we couldn't get any configuration whatsoever.
Were they operating at fairly high altitude?
No, they were dipping up and down, which thing that caught my curiosity because they'd go any place to 45 degrees above the horizon, down almost to the horizon, and dip back up again.
Okay.
And then I'd lose sight of them. They'd sort of disappear around to the north. Well, I'm in Juanita, and I've got a lot of trees around my house. And I'd catch sight of them again. They seem to be climbing to the north and east.
Okay.
And then they'd dip down below the horizon of the lights where I couldn't see them. And then they'd suddenly reappear back over to the southwest.
Okay. In your opinion, would these be something out of the ordinary from conventional aircraft?
Oh, yeah, very definitely. Very definitely something out of the ordinary. I wouldn't have made this stupid call. I feel like a fool talking about. I know you people probably take this seriously.
Very much so.
But I never really have, and I've never seen anything that would cause me to place a call like this.
Well, we've been flooded with calls tonight from throughout this area, and even some stuff from out of state.
Oh, is that right?
Right.
I had a couple beers, but I haven't had that many. But these things were doing some dipsy doodles that, as I say, I flew Navy in World War II, and I can't quite figure out what they were doing or what they were, but they certainly weren't like anything I've ever seen. That solid red light I couldn't figure out because I don't know of anything in the air that's permitted to fly that way. Unless there's some new deal about helicopters or something.
Okay, you say your two daughters saw this too?
Oh, yeah, 2 daughters and a wife. They first picked it up with binoculars when they were studying their stars for their astronomy course or something. And they watched them quite a while before they called me and asked me to come out and tell them what they were looking at. And boy, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. It was not a normal, well, any military or commercial pattern that I know of. But of course, I'm not that smart, so I really don't know.
Okay. Well, appreciate this call, and if we get any answers as to what's being seen around here tonight, we'll get back to you and let you know.
Yeah. If you have any further interest, if I make further sightings, you call them?
Oh, definitely.
You'd like to have me call you back?
Oh, definitely. Very definitely.
Okay.
This 24-hour answering here.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've never seen anything abnormal in the sky before, but this certainly wasn't normal. I didn't get the solid red thing going around, and or the series of those things, and I didn't get that up and down. It looked like a almost like a sparkler,
Yes.
The thing you'd have at 4th of July, and it sparkled quite brightly. But it was going up and down and sideways, and I couldn't figure out what in the world that was. I thought originally when I went out that it was just a falling star that was going down or something. When it went back up, I figured, well, that doesn't make much sense.
How about the speed of those red lights?
I'd say, well, they say my perspective wasn't that great because I didn't have any idea of distance.
Yes.
But I'd say that they covered 180 degrees in probably A minute. Or no, not that much. No. Let me think. Yeah, that's about right. It'd be a few minutes.
Okay.
That they would cover maybe from dead south to northeast, and they were going northeasterly. Now I don't think we had them several times. I mean, it wasn't just one thing.
Right.
And they, I think we saw them. I don't know how many times the girls saw them. I saw them about 4 times, and I think they were envisioned from. My guess would be someplace in the middle of Lake Washington to Woodinville in sight for about 2 minutes. That's about 180 degrees, I think.
Okay. Now this would be, most of this was taking place, and I presume, in the western sky. You were looking to the west, southwest?
No, I was looking to the east.
To the east?
I'm looking to the east. I'm looking south and east.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they could be any place from the mountains to right overhead, because they say they were just red blocks, and with binoculars I couldn't pick out any kind of identification of aircraft.
Okay.
Because I could see aircraft coming in. They come over sometime towards SeaTac, depending on the wind conditions, and you can see the commercials coming in. And when I was out watching all this nonsense, I saw some military aircraft too. But I couldn't pick out anything except lights.
Yes.
On these things and that's what made it sort of interesting, because I could identify. My God, after flying 4 years in the Navy, I could identify most things and what they're doing, day or night. But these are something that I've never encountered before. I just don't know exactly what's going on, but I thought perhaps it might be some sort of a military maneuver, and the helicopters were coated with different colored lights or something, but I couldn't hear any helicopter sounds.
Yes.
That's one thing that threw me off, and the engine noises I heard I could identify when commercial jets were coming in. But these things, I don't know, when the normal jet noise died down, there wasn't any sound. And distance, I couldn't even make a guess at distance.
Yes, okay.
So, I don't know, I'm probably talking a lot of nonsense.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, we sure appreciate the call, and if you see anything in the future, why, please let us know.
Okay, I'll have my girls go out and sit and look for some more.
Okay.
If they see any, I'll give you a call back. What's your name?
Bob Gribble, Gribble.
Bob Gribble. Yeah. Is that a full-time job, Bob?
No.
Yeah. It's just, what do you folks do? Just record this stuff and...
We investigate all the cases and get all the data and get it into our data bank and look for patterns, concentrations of activity, and so forth.
I'll be darned. Well, that's very interesting. If I hear anything or see anything more, I won't feel like such a damn fool when I call you back.
Okay.
Okay, Bob. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Surely. Goodbye.
Bye. Would you like to describe what you saw?
Yes. First of all, start out right in with the top of the trees.
Uh-huh.
And it was quite a distance off, but it was just this great big brilliant yellow light. Just a brilliant yellow-orange light. Not just a bright yellow, but like a yellow-orange.
Yes.
And it just kept getting brighter and brighter. And when it got brighter, it looked like it got lot bigger, and it really hurt your eyes. And I kept thinking, gee, maybe it's the transformer on top of a pole or something caught on fire. But then it wasn't that, because it just got real funny, you know?
Yes.
And then it moved up, and it looked to me at one time like it moved over. And then it would get real tiny, real small, and then all of a sudden it would just turn this funny shade of red and stay that way a few minutes, and then just turn this real brilliant yellow-orange, and then just get great big. And then it started moving in toward town, and it went up a little bit higher and a little bit higher. Then it went almost out like a star and just sat there. As it moved up higher, it sat there a little bit. And then it just got like a star. You'd think it was like a real brilliant evening star. And then all of a sudden, it moved up a little bit higher and just came this great big brilliant light again. And then it started moving in toward town. And then it came right over the back, and we were on our patio. And it came right back over the top of the roof. You know, it was up in the sky,
yes.
And it got so far and it stopped. And then it waited a few minutes, and it was still this great big brilliant color, and then there was no noise. And then it started heading out east again, and it started moving really fast then. Not so fast that it was gone, you know,
right.
But moving fast, sort of southeast.
Okay, now, while you were observing the object, could you see anything other than just the light?
When we couldn't until it got over and going past us, and then it was still this great big brilliant light, and I kept looking for a shape, you know,
yes.
of something, and you couldn't detect anybody because it's dark, and you couldn't detect the body of
yes.
it, but there were some other lights on it.
Okay, what color were those?
The other light was so brilliant you couldn't make out, you know, like a red or green or a blue or anything. It looked to me like it was the same, about three other little lights on it, the same color. There was no red or green on it.
Okay. But that light itself, in all the time that you were watching it, the light itself never took on any particular shape?
It was distorted off and on when it was over the tree, and as it moved up, it was funny, but it wasn't. You know, I couldn't tell whether it was because it was so bright. You know how when you look at a light that's real bright at a distance, you can see. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a funny thing. You can't even explain it.
Okay.
But it didn't take an oval shape, you know,
right.
or any definite shape. It was just a glowing.
Okay, and was this object covering more or less at treetop level?
It was at treetop level for me. It wasn't, you know, like we were looking in our backyard,
yes.
And we're looking out. Sort of not really northwest, it's west, period, just west.
Uh-huh.
And when you look out west, it was down low, like treetop level, because I was looking at it from a distance, see.
Right.
And then as it moved up, you know, then it got up away from the trees.
Right.
And then started moving in toward town.
Okay, do you have any estimate of how far away it was from you?
Let's see. Like, we live in Oakdale, and if I was estimating, it would be maybe clear over, maybe 16 or 17, I don't know how to figure feet, you know, but like 16 or 17 miles is what it would seem like to me from where we were, if that far. It moved into town awful fast, so it may not have been that far out. It might have only been maybe 5 or 6 miles from me.
Right, okay.
But, you know, length in sky is funny, you know, like a jet can be in Modesto, and we can see it in Oakdale. But, so I don't really think it would be 16 or 17 miles because it moved in here awful fast. I mean, it was just right out of where the tree and moved in. So maybe I am wrong there on that.
Well,
I was being corrected by the other person that saw it with me. And she says it seemed to her like it was just out by the river, you know.
Okay. And did you hear any sound at all during this whole...
There was nothing. There was not even a sound. I thought, well, maybe it was an airplane. We were trying to think of all these things, you know, but there was nothing. And there was no shape as an airplane. There was no body behind it, like a tail.
Yes.
There was nothing. It looked to me like when it got over us, you know, it looked to me like it would have to be round because there was nothing behind it.
Okay. Did it go directly over you?
Not where I could look right up at the belly of it.
Uh-huh.
Like when you just bring your arm up from your from your waist and bring it up almost at a 90-degree angle. And that's where it was over me.
Okay, did it, during that period, did it pause or slow down at all?
It did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's when I said, oh, there's no way an airplane can do that. You know, and you can hear an airplane.
Right.
And you can hear a jet, you can hear a helicopter, anything like that. You can hear it.
Did you notice any interference with lighting in the area at the time?
No.
Okay.
Because we had our patio light on, and everything was fine.
Okay. Were there any pets in the neighborhood making any out-of-the-way noises?
My dog was barking.
Okay.
It didn't start barking till it got over our yard. Well, not right over our yard, but, you know, over us.
Yes.
And then my dog started barking, and he ran in the house.
Okay. Did you and the other party experience any out-of-the-ordinary physical sensations at the time?
No.
Okay.
It's just excitement.
Right.
But nothing at all other than that.
Okay. And there were two witnesses, just you and another party?
Me and my mother, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of wish my husband had been home, but he isn't home from work yet.
And no one took any pictures?
No.
Okay. About what time did you first spot that?
At 12:30, must have been right around 12:30, because I watched, I kept saying, see, look at that funny light. Isn't that weird? You know, and I said, you watch that for a few minutes. And you know what's funny is I've seen a light, something like that, before in that same area, but nothing, and I've watched it out my bedroom window maybe for about 20 minutes, and it changed all these different shapes, but never move in. It would go out. I mean, it would go out, completely out.
Is there anything over, any special surface feature in that area? Any man-made, any dams or electric power stations? Or?
There is a electric power station on River Road, and that would be following it right down the river. And now let's see, I have to stop and think. It would be sort of in that same area, really, because it's clear out. It's on River Road, and you go clear out, and like I'm 2 blocks, maybe 4 blocks in from the river.
Yes.
And it is down the river, PG&E substation.
Okay.
And it's the Maloney's substation. It's called, but we have a Maloney's Dam being built clear up in the, clear on up.
Yes.
But it wasn't up over there.
Okay.
It was down the mouth of the river, clear down. And there is a substation in there.
Okay.
Now, that's a funny thing because I was trying to locate it along River Road, along the river, whenever I was telling you where it was at. But I have no sense of miles, or anything like that as far as feet goes or yards or anything. I have no sense whatsoever. I could tell where it is, and he moved it awful fast, so he couldn't have been out as far as I said at first. There's just no way he could have been out that far.
Well, visual estimates are very difficult anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Well, would you consider filling in one of our questionnaires if I sent it to you?
Oh, yeah. I'm one of those that just can't believe this. I believe in them. I'm about the only one in my area here that does, and when I called in, I told the girl, I says, you're just not going to believe this. I says, I can't even tell you what it is. And she didn't even know how to. I called the police department, and I know her because I work in the justice court. And I says, you're just not going to believe this, Pam. And she says, well, tell me. And then they ran out. Well, then the officer on duty, he says, oh, well, tell her it's just an airplane. We saw it move out over town because I told him it was coming into our town. It was on the outskirts of town. Like, they would have to look south to see it.
Right.
And but it was no airplane. I know, because there was no noise in our backyard except for my dog. And they don't have that brilliant light. Even their headlight is white. On an airplane, their headlight is white.
Right.
And there'd be no reason why he'd have to hover, and there'd be no way he could hover in an airplane, except a helicopter, and a helicopter. A helicopter has a sound. You're going to hear it.
Right.
I don't care how high you hear a purr. And there was none. Listen, we thought it all out completely. We really did, because I'm one of those. I went out one night and sat at the cemetery, believe it or not, for 2.5 hours because they had sightings in the area.
Uh-huh.
And this was last year. And I says, I'm going to see one of them, so help me God. That's when they had the sightings in Sonora, Twain Harte.
Right.
And I says, I know. I'm going to go watch. And I sat out and watched because I believe in them, and nobody else, they think I'm crazy.
No way.
And I says, I haven't seen one of them, and damn it, I'm going to see one of them if I have to travel to Santa Cruz in the next report. Oh, but my dad used to see him every once in a while when he worked Hetchy Waterline. And friends of mine own a ranch out of Knight's Ferry, and he's seen him before, too.
Uh-huh.
And he says he's even just given up even saying anything to people about it because he says they think you're crazy. They don't believe you. I said, I don't care if they think I'm crazy or not.
Well, we get lots of calls, so they're being seen all over.
Yeah. Have you had any more in this area?
Not this evening, no.
Well, I wonder because usually the sheriff's office gets calls after calls after calls. And one night I went all the way out on Milne's Road. About this time one night I was listening to my police radio, and they got a reciting out on Milne's Road, which is between Turlock and here, Turlock, California, and Oakdale. And I went out there, and the sheriff's car was out there. The sheriff's car did see something, but it had gone by the time I got there.
Uh-huh.
So, I think that there is definitely something.
Well, we've come to the conclusion that we're dealing with vehicles not manufactured on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would almost have to be. I mean, they're so outmoded completely from us.
Right. Well, that's the results of a 20-year study, so it didn't come very easy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I kept saying, well, there's, they're going to they ask about shapes. They're going to ask about anything like that because I said, I'm going to report this. I said, this is, I'd seen lights, on what you think it is, but it never turns out to be anything.
Right.
And I says, but this definitely is. When it moved out over us, if it was an airplane, we'd either get the after sound as it passed, after it passed, or something, because we're right in the jet stream, because Castle Air Force Base is just 45 miles from here.
Right.
And it headed out that way. Now, whether Castle will turn it or not, I thought a couple of times calling Castle to see if they had reported anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'd be surprised how many hundreds of people will see something and not say anything.
And not say anything.
Right.
Isn't that unreal?
Right.
Well, we had one, this has been years and years and years ago. I was a child, a real young girl at the time, and we had this friend that was hitchhiking from Modesto over here in the country, and he swears up and down that one of them swooped down at him.
Oh, this happens all the time.
And followed him and scared him so bad I think he probably ran to Oakdale.
Uh-huh.
and that's 16 miles. I mean, he was petrified. He was a nervous wreck for days. Now, you don't just get that way over nothing.
That's right. Well, we sure appreciate your calling. And if we get any additional information on this, we'll get back to you and let you know.
Oh, I'd really appreciate it. I really would, even if you call collect.
No, that'd do.
I'll never go to bed all night. I think I'm going to go out in the country.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I want to see one of them. I want to see one. You know what I mean? I don't want to see it going over. I'd like to see it come back by.
Sort of settle down.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to just see. I'd like people to know that this is, not a figment of my imagination.
Uh-huh.
That there's just no way it is. I mean, I'll argue with somebody right under the table. It is not. I know it.
Oh, I'm quite sure that
I have seen other things before, and it turned out, and I mean, just swear up and down, stand right there and say, oh, I know that is. Now, don't argue with me, I know it is. And as it moves in, or something like this, it turns out to be, an airplane or something like that. But as it's moving, you can tell that it wasn't hovering. It was when it moves at you, sometimes you can't tell if they're moving when they're moving toward you, And, but there's nothing like this light. There is just nothing like this light. It got so big and brilliant. Just, so bright. I told my mother, I said, listen, there is no way that there's anything like that on anything we have.
When it was close to the ground, did it light up the area at all?
Well, see, now I wasn't where I could see the ground.
Uh-huh.
But it had to. My God, it was brilliant. It had to.
Right.
It had to light it up. Now, I couldn't tell whether it even had touched, but I had been looking out back, and I didn't see it. And then I walked back over and stepped up, and I was just looking all around up on my patio step coming in my house, and I was just looking all around to see if the wind was blowing at the trees, around the street lights and stuff like this. And I looked over, and all of a sudden there it was. And I'd just been looking there. And now I'm looking at a star, and it doesn't even anywhere compare. One of those great, even if you look at a street light from a distance, there's no way anybody could have gotten it mixed up. No way. You might have thought it was an airplane on fire. I mean, it was just brilliant.
Right.
Just too brilliant to explain. I wish at the time you could just snap your fingers and have somebody here, you know?
Right.
I've never felt this way before in my life. I'm keyed up. I'll never go to bed.
Thanks again for the call.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me. And, let me know.
Will do.
Any way or the other if you find out anything.
We certainly will.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Last night at about 3 o'clock in the morning, someone observed a ball of light in their backyard, and she went out, stepped out the back door, and there was such a ruckus and noise that she went back in the house. She says all the dogs in the neighborhood were barking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Hello.
I'm calling for the UFO Reporting Center in Washington.
Yeah.
We've been notified by the Sheriff's Department that you had a UFO sighting there last night or early this morning. I wonder if we could get a description of what happened.
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed. I was telling some friends about it this morning, and they told me I should call you, but I didn't see a spaceship. I just saw a big ball of light. It was just sitting out in the backyard here. It was just weird. All the dogs were barking. It was 3 o'clock this morning. I woke up, and it was about, we're back in the woods here. And we have a neighbor on one side, but it's way back in the, there's trees between their house and where we saw it.
Yes.
But we could see straight back into the woods. There's a clearing in there. And I thought it was a forest fire when I first got up. It was glowing like there was a fire there. It was just huge. To me, I mean, wasn't, I would guess, looking at the oak trees out there, that it maybe was 20 feet high and the glowing, and maybe wider than that. I'm estimating, of course, that maybe 30 feet wide. But it was just a round ball of glow there, and it just sat out there, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and all the animals were just throwing a fit. And all the neighbors woke up, and the people across the street from us said that they couldn't figure out why my house was glowing because I suppose you have all sorts of crazy people tell you this stuff. They couldn't figure out why my house was glowing because I didn't have any lights on, but it was so bright over here.
Right.
Yeah, and that was all there really was to it. I stayed up till about 4 o'clock. I woke up my husband, and he looked, and he was going to go out and look at it, but frankly, it was scaring us, and I said, you're not going out there, and he didn't argue with me. He says, no, I think I'll go back to bed. And we laid there and listened to all these funny noises and the animals barking and everything, and finally I closed my bedroom window because it was so bright. I closed my bedroom curtain and went back to sleep, and it was gone this morning.
Okay, now you mentioned funny noises. Was there something other than the sounds coming from the animals?
Yeah, not very much. It was just an eerie sound. I don't know how to explain it to you. Just was eerie. The neighbor lady on the one side of me, she heard the sound, but she didn't see anything. She turned on her porch light, and it kind of hit out in that direction, but the light out in the field was brighter than her porch light.
Yes.
And her house is kind of L-shaped, so she was looking out the wrong window to be able to see anything, really, And so really my husband and I are the only ones that saw anything, and then this morning I called a friend of mine in Cave Junction, which is, 10 miles away, and she said that her son, about, I don't know, he's 27, something like that, was working out in the garage last night about 11:30. He came in the house and said he saw a flying saucer. Well, that's the first I even thought about it being something weird,
Yes.
And then I told her, and I asked her what it was, and she said that he just saw a big ball of light. He called it a flying saucer.
Right.
Coming down, and that's what we saw.
Do you have any idea how far it was from you?
Oh, I would say, oh dear, my husband says I'm terrible on distance. I'm looking out the window at where it was, about 200 feet. Maybe.
Okay. Has anyone inspected that area?
No, this friend of mine told me to keep everybody away from it till they had a chance to look at it. So I just haven't. I told everybody to stay away from there. I walked down the path a little ways and walked out there just a little ways, and I couldn't see anything. And I'm kind of spooky about this sort of thing. I just shouldn't stay away. But,
okay. Well, then someone is going to look over the area?
No. I have this friend that I was telling about this morning. She says usually if something like that, if they want to check it out, they don't want anybody tramping around there. So I just told all my neighbors to go back there. That was all. Because I didn't know. She said until you hear whether they wanted to check it or something. But as far as I could see, just standing on the path and looking over in that direction, I couldn't see anything.
Right. Okay. About how far off of the ground was that? Do you have any idea?
Well, there's bushes between us and where they were at, where the spot was at, whatever you call it, I don't know. But I couldn't see the ground under it. There's a bunch of those, I don't know what you call them, manzanitas and all sorts of things along, low brush, 4 feet high, something like that out in there. And then there's oak trees around the clearing. So I couldn't see the bottom of it. And like I say, I never even thought spaceship, truthfully, or anything like that. I just thought it was a forest fire. It was such a bright glow, and it just stayed out there.
Right.
And after I decided it wasn't a fire, then I tried to figure out how somebody could be shining car headlights out there and making it. But there's no road back there, really, or access to where it didn't look like that. Let's put it that way. It just didn't look like that at all. It just was a big ball of light sitting out there. That's the best way I can describe it. It was awful hard for me to focus on it. I kept rubbing my eyes trying to, so I could, I'm stuttering because it kind of shocks me that you called. But
don't be bothered.
I suppose you're used to this, huh?
Well, yes, very much so.
Yeah. Go ahead, honey. Just a minute, I'm talking. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, just a minute. It was just kind of hard to focus on and really see what it was. It just was. It wasn't. It was just a definite shape out there, but it was light.
Now, what color?
I couldn't see the trees out behind it. Was a white, kind of a reddish. That's why I thought it was a fire. A white, red, yellow color.
Okay. Now, did you see that actually move away?
No, I didn't. I finally went to sleep. I was scared, and my husband went back to sleep, and I didn't have anybody I could call at 4 o'clock in the morning that I could think of to go out and look at a piece of light out
yes.
in the yard. So nobody went out there at all.
Okay. And your husband was the only other person with you that saw this?
Yeah, and he thinks I'm crazy for even calling to tell you about it.
Now, did you turn your lights on at any time while this was in sight?
No, I didn't. The neighbor did. The neighbor turned on their porch light. They didn't see anything. They were trying to find out what all the dogs were, what all the commotion was from. And they turned it back off.
Now, were the dogs barking at all times while this object was there?
Well, my neighbor just come over. I haven't seen her all day, except, no, they barked about 3 o'clock, and then, just a second, didn't the dogs kind of stop barking for a while and then start in again? Yeah, they stopped barking. She says about 3:30. They stopped barking for about 15 minutes, and about 3:45 they start barking again.
Okay.
But
did this illumination from this object come into your home? Did it illuminate the inside of the building?
Oh dear, not really. No, not an excessive amount. No.
Uh-huh.
It was a full moon out. Or pretty bright out last night.
Okay, did you have any trouble looking at this? Did it hurt your eyes at all?
Well, it was more like a fuzzy looking at it. It was fuzzy.
Uh-huh.
It was like everything else looked clear, but I look at that light and it was like my eyes were fuzzy. I kept wiping my eyes thinking I still had sleep in them when I looked at it. Truthfully. This is Washington. But that's all I can really, if you got any other questions.
Okay.
She didn't, you want to talk to her? She's here.
Did she see the object?
She didn't actually see the light out there? Did you hear any noises besides the dog? Yeah. She said she thought a motor woke her up. People across the street now, they saw the glow around my house, and he thought that he and his wife heard a thud, but I don't know about that. I haven't talked to them anymore either. I just asked them if they'd seen anything, and that's what they told me.
Now, what I would like to ask, did you wake up from the sound of the dogs?
That's a good one. I don't know. I just know something woke me up, and all of a sudden my dog went tearing off the bed, and we got a little peekapoo, and she sleeps on our bed, and all of a sudden she started in, and the dogs outside started in, and it was like all the neighbor dogs and the coyotes from all over the country just seemed to gather in a big circle. It was just dogs all over the place.
Now, normally, do you sleep fairly well at night?
Yeah.
Okay, then something else probably had to wake you up.
Yeah, well, now, the dogs got in the trash cans. The big dogs, neighbor dogs, got in the trash cans about midnight, 12:30 it was. And I did get up for that because they were banging on the trash cans. And I went out and picked up the trash. There was nothing out there then, and as soon as I chased them off, they went off. They didn't bark or anything,
Yes.
And so that was an extra noise last night that woke me up. And then I went back to bed, and then I woke up with them all barking. Or when mine, I woke up, and then she took off of the bed barking, so I don't know whether it was a dog outside that woke me up or a noise.
Yes. Okay, have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I have not.
What was your personal opinion of the subject of UFOs prior to this?
Well, you mean when I first saw it, what I thought?
No, your opinion of the subject prior to this experience.
Well, I truthfully have never given it much thought.
Okay.
I've heard people talk about it, seeing it. Then after I thought about it, I thought, well, maybe it was a meteor and it might start a fire out there.
Yes.
Last night, I never really think I could hear their barks coming from out in the trees, all around circling it, but none of them were any closer to it than I was, I would guess. In fact, the coyotes sounded about the closest to it on the one side.
Okay.
But, coyotes bark different. They just yip,
Oh, in the daylight, and bring a camera with you just in case you find something, and if you get any type of pictures, well, we'd like to get copies.
Yeah, well, if you take a camera at night like that and take a picture of a flash like that or a light out there, will a picture...
Oh, yes, don't use a flash. If you get anything like that, any kind of a bright light, don't use a flash, and it'll always pick it up. Black or white or colored film.
Well, I thought about that, too, but I thought my camera wouldn't take a picture of something
Oh,
at night
definitely.
like that.
Very definitely.
I'll be darned. Well, I'm so